I muted myself. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, there's so many amazing people on this call. Hello, everybody. This makes me so happy. I know how like tiring it can be to be here Monday night. So I appreciate that you're here to hang out with me, and I'm going to do my best to make it amazing. Oh my gosh, all weekend I've been like planning and getting ready and making sure that like I'm good to go to be here for you. And I am so excited. It's 6:59, so I'm gonna wait. Oh, it's 7 o'clock right now. Yay! Hooray, hooray, hooray. Okay, this is so exciting. I'm so excited. Okay, welcome. It's 7 o'clock. I'm gonna start. My goal is to be done by 8 o'clock because again, I honor your time. I recognize how many of you have probably been on Zoom today, and I know it's a lot. And that's part of why I wanted to do this workshop because I'm with you, I'm in it with you. And in the fall, I felt like I needed a support group for teachers. And I was like, I need a support group for teachers. And then I realized I could do that, especially as the year has gone on, and I realized no one's going to do it for me, and I feel like teachers, we get it enough ourselves. So that's why I really felt like this is something that I could offer. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, my goal is by the end of this that you're going to feel open and expanded and refreshed and rejuvenated and just ready to face your day and the rest of your week. And how we're going to do that is stories and stories and stories and stories. And really, truly, this is all about you. Um, so I have a mentor text to share. We're going to write, and the mentor text I'm sharing is an adult mentor text. So it's all for you, but I promise you there will be lots of ideas that you can take with you and try with students tomorrow. And I'm going to make sure to go over everything at the end so you can see it all, right? So I want you to enjoy it as we go. And then at the end, I'm going to go remind you of all the things that I modeled and that you got to experience that you could take with you after that. Okay, so I feel like the best way to take care of you is to really focus on love and to also think about purpose, right? Um, there's been so much talk of self care, and I swear if someone else tells me that I need to go take a bubble bath, it's not going to be good. So I really feel like it's about purpose and it's about loving ourselves and honoring the stories that we have in our hearts and sharing them with other people. Community is so important to me here at Story Exploratory. So that's what we're going to do. Radical self love is one of the keys to our liberation. And so this is not just about stories and being a literacy leader, but also about social justice. So we're going to merge those together. If you have water, I'd love if you would have water with you because we're going to share stories. And sometimes that brings up emotions. And to me, I think water is a really great thing to have. And then hopefully you have paper and pencil, your favorite writing utensil. I have my Mr. Sketch markers, whatever is fun to write with for you. I think it's going to be best if you are doing the work like physically, but you can also use your device if that works for you as well. Okay, fair warning, emotions might come up, but I think that's really healthy. I feel like we need to acknowledge them and get them moving so we're not holding on to them or like getting them out of us. So just want you to know about that, and please take care of yourself. Whatever does come up, make sure you acknowledge that and work through that. Um, because I think that's, again, a healthy thing to do. When we are done, like I said, I'm going to go over things that you can take with you and try later, and I'm going to share other ways to learn with me. I do monthly workshops. I am on Instagram a lot, and I'm going to be offering retreats. So I have a virtual writing retreat coming up in March, April, and May. So I'm going to share more details and information about that, and you'll get to be the first to know about these awesome retreats that are coming up. Whew. Okay, so I know a lot of you. It's so fun. But I would love if you would introduce yourselves and share yourselves with everybody. I'm going to go kind of fast because I have a lot I want to accomplish. So I'm going to continue talking. I would just invite you to type into the chat. So you're going to be chat rock stars tonight. If you're tired and you just want to hang out, you don't have to chat. But I think that's fun. I like to also like flip through the pages and see who is here because that's kind of like usually you see somebody and you're like, hey, I know you. I left the chat open, so if you want to privately chat a friend, you're welcome to do that, because I also think that is fun. So I invite you to share who you are, your pronouns, where you're from, what land you're on, possibly what your teacher, what your role in is in education. Not everybody's teaching right now, and that's okay, but you're connected to education in some way, shape, or form, and that's why you are here. Woohoo! Okay, thanks, Eliza, for chiming in. I'm going to introduce myself. Like I said, I know many of you, but not everybody. So I want to introduce myself and share that my name is Jen Vincent. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am, I live in Mundelein, Illinois, and I teach 7th and 8th grade language arts, social studies. I have one group of students who is English only, and the other is dual language in Spanish. And my oh, I said my pronouns already. um, I live on the land of Miami and Illinois, and oh, I'm so excited to see all the people. This is amazing. I've been teaching for 19 years, and this is like the most unique year ever, right? Like we all recognize and understand like how different this is and how unique this is. And again, that's really why I thought it was important to offer something specifically for teachers from a teacher. So thank you everybody for being here. Um, okay, so in order to be able to really be here in the moment, I want to pause and just do like just take some time to settle in. So I want to invite you to look around the space that you are in. And I want you to think of one thing that you need to like mentally set aside until our time is up together. What's one thing that you're like, okay, I need to not think about the laundry or the dishes or the lesson plans to tomorrow or whatever that thing is. I want you to think of one thing to set aside. And then go ahead and you can type that into the chat, share with other people if you, whatever it is that you feel like, oh, I just need to like not think about that. And I promise you, when our time is done, you can go and think about it. Okay. So like you can go then and go back to it when our time is done. But this really is time for you. Ooh, she put her phone in the other room. That's amazing. That's a great idea. When I was in high school, I was part of a like peer mediation group, and they took us down to the wrestling room, which is a very strange place to do meditation. But like we all laid down on the wrestling mats, and we had to close our eyes, and they took us through a meditation that really has like always stuck with me because it makes me think about what's happening in my life. And the idea was, I remember him saying like, "There's not a bull coming to like run you over right now." Right. And so many like we go fast and furious all day. There's so many things that we do that we have to take care of, but right now you're just in your room, right? Maybe you're surrounded by things that you love and that make you feel good. Maybe there is a pile of laundry that you'll get to later, but just take a deep breath. And yes, everything else you can get to. There will be time for it. Awesome. Okay. So we are here. Woohoo! Thank you for doing that. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so um, I'm going to start with talking about books and how much we love books, right? Raise your hand if you love books. Yes, we love books. Okay, so I grew up in Lake Forest. I know some people are close to this area and might be familiar with Lake Forest. Whenever I present like with students, I'll say like, "Hey, what do you know about Lake Forest?" And sometimes they're like, "Oh, there's a lake, there's a forest," and then they'll say like, "Oh, people are rich, there's mansions." Definitely, it was as a very affluent place. People live in really big houses. They drive fancy cars, shop at like the boutique stores in town. That's where I grew up, but that was not me. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. My parents rented a 2-bedroom apartment. We never had new cars, except for my dad was a car salesman. So maybe he would have like a demo for a short time that we would get to drive. And I maybe would have like the sweatshirt that was like Gap. I'd have like one sweatshirt that was Gap that I would wear. Um, but I often didn't feel like I was enough in terms of like my socioeconomic status, and except when I went to the library. I could go to the library and I could check out any book that I wanted to check out. I could check out as many books as I wanted to check out, and I could read all the Judy Blume books just like my friends. So for me, reading and access to the library was an equalizer for me, and in some ways a lifeline, because it helped me really feel like I was important. I could read all these books and talk about books. And I think that's part of why I love books so much. Um, so I want to invite you to share or think about some heart print books. Maybe you've heard this term before, but it's like a book that's left a footprint or a heart print, a print on your heart, something that's impacted you. In Story Exploratory in our workshops, I talk a lot about how people, places, and experiences shape us. And to me, reading a book is an experience, right? And that story stays with us. Now, you might have a story that comes to mind that, like, oh, you're like, oh, I loved that book. I carried it around, right? Or you might think of a book that like you despised. And I I will often hold up books for students to share where I have the portrait of the artist as a young man that like I hated in high school, but I got through it and I still have it because it was an important book for me in my life. So that is something that I invite you to think about when you share with students. And at the end of the workshop, I'm going to share a Google form for you to fill out where you can share any takeaways that you have and testimonial that I might be able to use in the future. And then I'll send you some slides so you can see my samples if you want to talk about a heart print book, and like a slide that you could just go ahead and use with students tomorrow or this week or whenever. Um, I did it with my students at the beginning of the year, and I felt like just focusing on one was really important because sometimes we do like this reader's autobiography, and we assume that kids have all these stories that they love, but not every kid does. So a heart print book, I think, is an awesome way to like just think about the books that we love and also to share that with students. So I want to know what heart print books you have. I'm looking to see. Has me so. Oh, okay. Love books. Yay. Okay. Do you have a heart print book that you want to share? One book that comes to mind that has stayed with you. Ramona the Pest. Oh my goodness, yes. Ella Enchanted. Oh, I like that one. I don't know if I've read the book. I know it was a movie. I love it. Okay. So maybe you were writing these in your notebooks, writing books that you love. Oh my gosh, so many. A lot of people going, oh, One and Only Ivan is pretty current. Very fun. Oh, such a range. Awesome. I love this because we could really sit and talk about the books that we have, why we picked those books, talk about what we loved about them, why they've impacted us, and we could have so many conversations about that. I will say, as much as I loved books, and I really do feel like they saved me and were a lifeline for me, I did not see myself in those books. So, in terms of being enough, I'm mixed first generation Latina. And so I didn't like growing up in Lake Forest is 98% white at the time. Like I really didn't feel like I saw myself in the people that I was around, let alone having role models or in the books that I was reading. So that led me to really want to write my own books and try. I remember Donna Lynn, you were doing NaNoWriMo on Twitter, and I was like, I'm gonna jump in, I'm gonna try that and see how that goes. So that's really how I got started. And it's so many stories go back to Donna Lynn for me. But that's really how I got started to even trying to write. And then I didn't win NaNoWriMo, but I kept writing from there. And I, my journey with writing has like evolved over time, but as I've gone, I realize so much what I've learned about myself. And that's really what Story Exploratory is about, is inviting you to do identity work through writing and guided exploration so I can help you to be able to do that. So we're gonna do that. I always start our workshops with writers' agreements. So I want to offer those to you right now. And if there's any that you would like to share, you can add those as well. The more I write, like I love being in community as a writer, but I also recognize that it's um, like again, emotions come up when we write. So I try to make it a safe space, but also a brave space by co-creating our writers' agreements. So I'm gonna invite you to write. Um, I started writing because I really wanted to. I recognized I didn't see myself in the story, and I felt like I had something to offer and something to share. And so that's a big piece of why I started to write for myself. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to find my slides here. Sorry. I do have a few slides to share. I'm not a big slide person. Um, but our writer's agreements, here we go. I should have done this already. Okay, so if you have anything that would help you feel comfortable in terms of writing, you're welcome to share them. We are going to have time to do a free write and then to go into a breakout room. So I always offer the right to pass. And I offer that because I recognize that you might be like, I don't want to share. I really want to be able to write and not worry so much about sharing with somebody else. So you always have the right to pass. You don't have to share what you've written. I do invite you to maybe share like how it feels to have written it, like, oh, I didn't know that I was thinking about this. Like that's a great thing to share, even if you don't feel comfortable sharing exactly what is on your paper, that's totally fine. So you always have the right to pass. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. Here we go. Zoom life. Okay, here we go. So you always have the right to pass. Be open to whatever does come up. We focus on progress over perfection. So whatever you write down is great. This really is meant to just get things flowing, right? Like we're not talking about too much about craft. It's just about getting ideas flowing. Breathe. Ask before giving feedback. So like I said, we will have time to share. And really, I'm going to invite you just to talk about what resonates with you. So we're not going to give too much feedback, but we do try to ask before doing that. And ultimately, to have fun. So many people think of writing as torture, and I really don't think it has to be that way. I truly believe writing can be fun. So, do you have any affirmations that you would like to offer, or not affirmations, writer's agreements, anything that you feel like is going to help you show up and be able to write right now? Be brave. Oh, I love that one. Yes, it does take bravery to show up, especially like I think as kids we become a little bit more open to the page, but I also feel like, even some kids are like, I don't know what to write, or they don't think their stories matter. I've had kids ask me, like, is it okay if I write about this? And I'm always like, yes, you could totally write about that, whatever it is, because it all matters and it all counts. And that's one way that we affirm their identities, right? By letting them do that. Okay, so we will be brave. Thank you, Eliza, for sharing that. I said affirmations because I do feel like this becomes like our internal thinking, right? And like how we affirm ourselves as we're writing, we start to think like, okay, I'm just going to be brave. I'm just going to keep going. Oh, no judgment. Yes. And assume positive intent. Ooh, I like that one. Because especially as we share, right? Like if we have a comment or we share something, like assume that everybody's here with positive intent. Impact definitely matters, but let's try to assume positive intent as much as we can. We're going to hold on to those affirmations. Okay, so I started writing. I wrote a novel, and I wrote another novel, and I was writing picture books, and I signed with an agent. And then my agent closed her agency. I got an email, and it was like, I can't represent you anymore. I'm closing my agents immediately. Done. Like I literally talked to her on a Friday, and Tuesday we got this email, and I was like, what just happened? She was accused of fraud. She just decided to disappear. It was horrible. I remember we were like, I had found out, and I'm on the phone trying to figure out what's going on. We're at Great America, like life goes on. We're at Great America. Chad's taking the kids on rides, and I'm like talking to someone who was also represented by her, trying to figure like what just happened. We're trying to piece everything together. It was horrible. It was awful. I really didn't think that I could keep writing. I remember being at the dog park and like I let Pretty go, she's free at the dog park, and I ran. I was just running. I remember tears streaming down my face and feeling like, what am I doing? I wasted all this time. Why? Why am I doing any of this? And I just really felt like my stories were important. Nobody wanted them, I felt like, like it just it was really hard. But I still had this little piece of me that loved stories and knew that my stories weren't represented, and that was really what kept me going, was to know that my story matters because it is unique and it's different, and I needed to share it. So the way I kept going was I bought myself Mr. Sketch markers, which felt indulgent. These are like, I don't know, they're indulgent to me because I think I remember as a kid they were so expensive, but I love these things. So I bought my Mr. Sketch markers and I bought myself a notebook. It was this notebook. It's blank, like the pages are blank. So it was very big and also not bound by like lines, but I filled it with my markers and I would like draw and just do anything to stay close to my story because I was committed, but this was as much as I could do. And I gave myself a lot of grace to like still keep going and try to figure out what that might look like. Um, I decided not to talk too much about the pandemic tonight because I want us to be able to like put that aside for a little bit. But it's a similar thing when you're going through something hard, you feel like I don't know how I can keep going, right? And you just find whatever it is that's going to help you get the next minute done, the next day done, like just to be able to keep going. And to me, knowing that my stories mattered and they mattered to me was the reason for me to keep going. So I want you to consider the question, to whom do you matter in this moment and right now? To whom do you matter? For me, writing helped me love myself. And so I know that I love myself, right? Like I've gotten to that point where I matter to myself. That's why I take care of myself and do what I can to like follow my purpose and my passion because I know that my stories matter. Um, I hope you write down that you matter to me, like write down Jen, because seriously, when I started Story Exploratory, I did the first workshop in 2015. My sister and my neighbor came, and it was like, I was like, oh, that was fun. And then I thought that that was never going to happen again. And then it was after everything with Danielle, who was my agent, that I started like a coaching group. And the woman said to me, I think you have something like bigger to do. Cause I wanted to get back to, I was like, I want to get back to my stories. And she's like, I think you have something bigger to do. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And then I remembered Story Exploratory and I had this dream of this fun and funky writing community where people could come together and feel seen. And that's when I started working on Story Exploratory again. So January 2019, so 2 years ago was when I did my first workshop. So to think that all of y'all are here is like, it's a dream come true to me. So please write down my name, that you matter immensely to me. But I'm pretty sure you matter to your families and to your students, maybe colleagues, maybe a neighbor, people in your family. Just look at that list. And maybe you feel like their energy around you. I know that I matter to my ancestors, the people who came before me, and I know that I matter to the people who come after me. Um, so maybe you write that down too, which I think is really important. Um, okay. So I started Story Exploratory. I kept going. My friend Elise shared this book on Twitter. It is The Wrong Way to Save Your Life by Megan Stielstra. The cover is gorgeous. Like I love this cover so much. And she talked about how she like carried around with her and she read it and she loved it. And I thought, okay, I need to read that book. So I got it. And I fell in love with this book so, so much. It might be that she's like from Chicago, so she writes about Chicago and she's maybe a little bit older than me, but kind of my age. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that has something to do with it, but I also just love how she writes about her people and she writes about life, and that really stood out to me. So I read this book and I remember talking to Chad Everett and I was like, this is how I want to write. Like I can do this. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to write like this. And he was like, well, what do you desperately need the world to know? I remember he asked me that question and I was like, oh, that I love Guatemala and I'm connected to Guatemala and I definitely I miss it. I've only been there once in my whole entire life, but I feel so connected to this place that I've only been to once. And he was like, "Okay, then write about it." And so I did. And I'll tell you what happens in a second, but I'm going to read this. This is our mentor text for tonight. I'm going to read just a short snippet of the first essay. And like I said, this is a mentor text for us, okay? This is not something you're going to take to your students, but this is for us because this is this workshop is for you. Okay. Um, I love mentor texts, and that's what our retreat is going to be about, diving into them, looking for them, you really harnessing them and using with your students and seeing the intersection between the mentor text and again social justice conversations. But this is for us. So this is the first essay. The first essay is called I gotta find it. I'm still fighting with my big and small fears. And in this first one, she talks about her roommate who like she's secretly in love with, who's an artist. And someone passes away. And she like he's, just listening to music. It's like nonstop and they're worried, but they don't know what to do. And so this is a snippet of that. I want you to think about two things. One, I want to think about just like what you notice and what resonates with you, because I'm going to ask you to do that later with each other. So, what resonates with you? What stands out? And then the next thing I'm going to ask you to write about is what do you desperately need the world to know? So, maybe you think about that as you're listening as well. Okay, here we go. I don't remember how long it went on. The jackhammer, the locked bedroom door. I want to say weeks, but I'm known to exaggerate, to add the extra 10 feet the hero has to jump. I'd come home from night classes, from student teaching, from waiting tables, from writing in coffee shops, from hanging out at friends' houses so mercifully still and quiet. And every time I climbed the stairs, I felt the floor beneath my feet. Pete, I'd yell through his door and over the music. Can I get you anything? And do you want to talk? And the music is really loud. But what I meant was, how can I help? No, and no, and I know, he'd yell back. But what he meant was, leave me the hell alone. One night, I came home and heard nothing. No jackhammer, no pounding bass. At the time, I was reading the novel So Far from God by Ana Castillo. I was at the part where Faye, the middle sister, who'd been screaming for months, stopping only to sleep, then waking up and screaming again. Her blood curdling wail became part of the household's routine so that the animals didn't even jump or howl no more, had suddenly stopped. There was silence. So loud a silence. I heard that book in my own apartment. My life collided with its pages. The shower turned on in the bathroom, and at the end of our snake like hall, I saw that Pete's door was open. I tiptoed past my room, past Heather's, and into his. 20 years later, and this is what I see: the room wallpapered in dull brown, what looks like grocery bags meticulously cut at the seams, then laid flat and taped together. Look closer, and there's the imprint of folded rectangles and the thick, clear industrial tape. Over that is the paint, dark, dark purple, dark red and blue, thick and globbed, like it was thrown at the wall or sludged on with a knife. It starts at the ceiling and sprays down, running off the paper and onto a tarp over the floorboards. Less like you're looking at it and more like you're inside it. I wanted to get out of there, but at the same time, I couldn't look away. A car crash, a bar fight, a shooting, a scandal. We have to watch. We have to see. It's a lot, I know. Pete stood in the doorway, a towel around his waist and dripping from the shower. I said something then. I don't remember what. I hope it was, I'm sorry. We both looked at the walls. I wanted to get it out of me, he said. And even though it would be years before I understood what he meant, before I put my own heart in the open and looked, really looked, I still nodded like I understood. You can't fix it if you can't see it. Okay. So anything you noticed? Anything you want to share? You can type it in the chat if there's anything like what stood out to you. I picked this piece because I love her writing, but also because of the ending. You can't fix it if you can't see it. Which is we're going to write a little bit, right? Like what do we desperately need the world to know? What is something we have to get out of us to be able to look at. Whether we want to work on it or whether we don't, whether we just need to get it out of us. What is that one thing? Her remembering just what the room looked like 20 years later. Yeah. I think that is something that stood out to me so big because it's like I feel often that I pay attention in that way, and I think like, "Oh my gosh, I pay attention to these moments." Like little things stand out to me. And how do I write that, right? How do I capture that? The quiet and not being able to look away. Like the denseness of that moment, right? The colors and the textures in the room. Ooh, sometimes like what are these memories that stay? Why are these ones the ones that stay? Which I think is really cool to write about because sometimes like all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my gosh, and now I know why that story makes so much sense, why it stood out to me." But sometimes we don't know. Wanting to say something but not always saying what is inside, like not knowing what to say. I mean, how often does that happen where like we don't know what to say or what's best even? And sometimes you just have to give people space to do what they need to do for themselves, which is an important thing. The sensory details, like what we remember, it seems small and insignificant, but they really stand out. Um, how she wouldn't necessarily understand it until years later, which I think is why it's so important to write about things from the past, right? Because sometimes when you really look at it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what it means. Yes, and especially because of immigrants' memories. Ooh, are they our memories or are they stories that we just remember because it's happened to us and people talk about it? It's interesting also to think about memory and how those stories stand out to us and which ones do and then how we remember them and how we retell them. Okay. Woo! So we're going to do some writing. I'm going to give you 3 minutes for a free write. This would be a great time if you wanted to just grab some water. If you don't have water, you could grab it. Or if you do have water, take a sip. Do not forget. So I have rules for free writing. I created like a habit loop. I don't know if I still have that book. There's a book about habits, and I created a habit loop for myself that I could take anywhere with me to like reinforce my free writing fun. So I'm going to share that with you, and then I'm going to give you time to write. So these are my rules for free writing: that you keep your hand moving, focus on ideas, let your ideas flow, and be open. I go over these with students. I have them intentionally focus on like the positive, right? Keep your hand moving, like don't get stuck, but just like keep your hand moving. Focus on ideas. Don't worry about spelling, punctuation, anything like that. Let your ideas flow. Maybe you start writing about one thing and then it reminds you of something else, right? You start writing about something current and then you think of this like who knows, just let your ideas flow, go where they need to flow. If the laundry comes up, right, yeah, I have to do laundry, but then go back to whatever else comes back to your mind. And again, be open to whatever comes up. I used to say be brave, so be brave, be open. Our writing affirmations go along here for sure. Okay, so here's what I say when I start. I say, bring it on, blank page. The page is nothing to us, right? We're going to bring it on. And then we're going to take time to write. And then we are going to look at our page and recognize that we have something written down and affirm ourselves that I can write, I'm a writer, and the proof is on the page. So that's my little like loop. I get myself going with bring it on blank page, and then I write, and then I like pat myself on the back because I did it. I'm going to share these slides with you so you could grab them and take them to share with students if you would like to do that. And you're thinking about, oops, um, something you desperately wish people would know. I wish people knew. I wish people would understand something. For me at the time, it was about going to Guatemala. Right now, it probably is something about my students and how awesome they are and how they show up in so many ways. But whatever comes to mind for you is exactly what you need to write about. It's perfect and it's exactly what you need. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes, and I will see you back here in 3 minutes. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, awesome. I'll see you in 3 minutes. Okay, go ahead and finish your thought. I really want to know how it feels. I also want to invite you to stretch. Do a stretch, take up space. And if you want to type in the chat, how did it feel? How did it feel to write that out? Were you surprised? Maybe not surprised? Did it feel good to get it out of you? Did anything come up that like you learned? Hmm. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is put y'all into breakout rooms. We're only gonna have about 5 minutes to be able to. Oh, freeing! Yes, that's what I was hoping for. That you feel like opened up and expanded. I should have had you think more about like how you felt when you first got here, but hopefully you're feeling like the difference. Oh, refreshing. Oh, like a little jog. That's amazing. Like a little get yourself moving and up and going around. Oh, surprise where it went. That's awesome. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. If we lose anybody, please just come back in and I will let you back in. Oh, Lauren hasn't written like that in years. Oh, okay. So I'm going to let you go for 5 minutes. And again, I just love the community side of all of this. So if you want to share, introduce each other, and then share the topic of what you wrote about and or how it felt to write about. So remember, you have the right to pass. You do not have to share with each other. That is like totally okay. Um, as people are talking, two things to think about. One, it's so important to listen, right? So like I really think it's important to know our own stories and be in touch with our own stories. But then we have to also listen to other people and be open to them and recognize that people have different lived experiences and that's okay. That's actually amazing, right? So please be open to listening. You could share if something resonates with you or something stands out to you, something's meaningful, like if it hits you a certain way. Y'all are awesome. So I know you're going to take care of each other. But think about those things. And like I said, you'll have 5 minutes. So I'll give you 1 minute when it's time to come back. So I'll see y'all in a little bit. Have fun. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, how did you do? Everybody waited to come back, so I'm guessing you were having fun. I'm guessing you were having fun in your rooms, which is what I love about Story Exploratory. People who show up are so awesome. Okay, y'all, I just shared in the chat if you're interested in those free writing slides. I just shared them with you. And yes, this is one of my favorite pictures. So after I wrote this, what I had to write about going to Guatemala, I realized that I had to go. I realized that it was time for me to go. I needed to buy a ticket and I needed to go. And that's what I did. Like I had waited 38 years to just buy myself my own ticket and be able to go. So that's what I did. So this is me at the dog park, where I had been crying and like completely upset and trying to figure out how I was going to keep going. And then writing unlocked this for me. So I asked a random stranger to take this picture for me. And this is like my like, oh my God, I love this like pose. And to me, it's like being open to things. It's like a good stretch, but I've also been thinking about lately as like taking up space. We're allowed to take up space. So I want to invite you to like try this out or think of your own power pose whenever you maybe need to feel a little energized. This is me in Guatemala on Lake Atitlan. My uncle took me on this boat to cross this lake, and my mom was like, "It's too dangerous to cross the lake." And here I am living my best life. So writing for me, like it's been such a journey to lead me to where I am now. But I feel like it unlocked this experience for me. It led me in different places. I definitely got something out of my heart and then saw at it and was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You might, look at what came out of you and think, like, oh my gosh, now I see what I should be doing. Or maybe you just need to set it aside. Maybe you need to do something about it tomorrow or this week or in a year. So it's totally up to you. This was taken last week with my friends. We've been hiking, and we like rescued the snowman. His pieces had fallen apart, so we put him back up. So, the cool thing I think is the more we share our stories, the more people share stories with us. So it's really fun. Like I've noticed that they start putting their hands up too because it's something that I do. And I feel like it's just, it's contagious. Taking up space and sharing our stories, being vulnerable and authentic and open, it invites other people to do the same, which is really, to me, like this part of identity work, right? Is like loving ourselves and knowing that we want to share ourselves with other people and inviting people to share their stories by being open about our stories. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I just love y'all so much. This is amazing. Okay, I do have one uh, connection I want to make here now to social justice because that's the big thing that I was saying. Like, okay, it's about literacy and social justice and like how these things intersect. So here are the social justice standards from Teaching Tolerance. I don't know if you're familiar with these or not, but I try to align one of these with everything that I'm doing. I firmly believe that they should be sitting alongside everything that we're doing in our classrooms. It's a little bit hard to see, but there are four different areas: identity, diversity, justice, and action. And we'll really go deeper into these and looking and understanding these at the retreat if you want to join me for that. And I am going to talk more about them at our workshops and on Patreon, and like show really how we connect this and how we live this. I think identity work again goes to the core of what we're doing because when we know and understand and value ourselves, then we can hold space for others and make space for others, and that is super important. So I'm curious from you all, what do you think we've touched on tonight? It could either be one of the four things, or if you know them, one that stands out to you that you think that we hit in sharing our stories. Like I hope that it felt very natural that we were doing this, that it wasn't like forced, that we were zoned in on this. Um, but at the same time, I wanted to call attention to it because I think it's possible to teach in a way that it's not like in your face all the time, or again, like super forced that we're doing this, but also it can show up. Okay. Identity, yes. But some people might also feel compelled to take action. Yep. Like community. Yep. Express comfort with people who are both similar to and different from them and engage respectfully with all people from the diversity one. Ooh, writing is taking action. right? Like you might need to speak up about something in your life. You might be like, you know what? I'm going to go tell this person that this is important. I'm going to go speak up at the next meeting and say, maybe we should look at this thing, right? So think about that and think about what it's like when we share our stories, how we do feel empowered and we feel more open and we feel um, more able to share and speak up. Justice, claim, and reclaim identity to create equity and balance. Whoo, yes. I have Cultivating Genius. I have not read it yet, but I think the criticality piece is so important. And that again is what we'll be doing at the retreat is like looking at mentor texts, looking what we have, what we love, looking at what we share with students and how that how we have to be conscious and aware of what we are sharing and bringing to them and modeling. Um, okay. To me, I really feel like identity, the very first one, um, is oh no, that's not the very first one. There's one about being unique and complex. That's one I just keep coming back to that we are unique and complex. And I think in my whole journey, I've come to that. I feel like I was trying to figure out, oh, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And then now I'm to a place where I'm seeing like how all those things merge together and come together, and that I can be all of those things. And I can also change. I can start like I can go skydiving tomorrow and then I'm a skydiver. Like there's so many things that way we're evolving and changing, and even things that we're reading or experienced or happening to us that change us all the time. Ultimately, we are all human and we all have stories to share. We all matter. And so I hope you feel that and got that like experience and that you do feel open and seen. Um, doesn't it feel good to feel seen? Right? Like to know that you matter and that you're here and that you matter to yourself, but you matter to others, I think is so, so, so important. So I wanted to leave a little bit of time if anybody has questions or if there's anything that you want to share. I do want to hold on, let me stop sharing my screen. I do want to let you know that if you follow me on Store Exploratory, I would super, super appreciate that. Or at Instagram, Store Exploratory on Instagram. I'd appreciate that because I'm just trying to like share and get to know more people. So I invite you to do that. We do have a Patreon, and there's different ways to participate in the Patreon, but you can get access to all our monthly workshops through the Patreon. And then I've talked about the retreat that I'm offering. This is the first time I'm doing a retreat. I've done 2 retreats myself this school year. And I know it's like a lot. It's a Zoom and it's the weekend and all of that. But I truly want to make it interactive. I hope that it's like meaningful to you, purposeful, but also really fills you up and especially gives you a lot of things to think about, but it will be interactive. Like we're going to write, we're going to move. It's going to be small. So I'm keeping each of them to 12 people. I'm only letting 12 people into each of the retreats because I really do want to make it intimate where we can talk more. This went so fast. I feel like I didn't get to talk to everybody. So that is definitely a way if you want to like really zone in and spend time together. It's the same retreat. I have it set up for March, April, and for May. If that's something that you're interested, I'd love for you to join me for that. Okay, our time is up. I will let, if anybody wants to ask questions, I will let you ask questions, but I just want to pause. Um, and I want you to, again, look around the room. It's the same room that we started in. How do you feel different? How are you showing up different right now? Like pay attention to your body. Like, does your body feel different? What do you notice? Um, there's still not a bull like raging to come and run you over. So remember that and hold on to that. I hope you feel filled up with stories and that you do feel expansive. That was really my goal is that you felt like, okay, I feel good. If you could just type one word in the chat to let me know how you're feeling. Oh, gratitude. Grateful, thankful, grateful, energized, blessed, comfort, inspired, proud, appreciated, loved, joy, motivated, rejuvenated. Yes. Oh my gosh. Y'all deserve it. We are doing a lot. We're doing a lot, and a lot of people do need us and rely on us, and we're showing up in the best way that we can, and everything that you're doing is so important. So thank you, thank you so much for being here and taking the time. I do have an exit slip for you. If you would share any takeaways and any, how do I feel now? I feel amazing. I feel so, so, so good. Um, yeah, if you would share this, this would be grateful. I would be so grateful because like everything that I'm doing, I really want to make it meaningful for y'all. That's really my goal. And then once you hit send, you should get an email that sends you, it's like a little letter, and then there's a link to my heart print slides. So if you want to share or take those, you can take them with you. Okay. Um, Okay, last thing I just want to go over really quickly are all the things that we did. So if you want to fill that out while I'm talking, you're welcome to. And then again, I'll stay as long as you need me to answer any questions if you have questions. Introductions. I asked you to share your pronouns. I think that's super, super important. If you haven't talked to students about pronouns, I invite you to do that, and especially to start the year with that. So it's just like a normal thing that you do, but you can also do it at any time. Heart print books, I shared that. You can, just one book even, ask a kid to just share that story and connect with them about that. Writers agreements, you can co-create the space, make it a safe space, but also a brave space, but like give kids a voice, right? Like ask them how they want to show up and what would help them feel comfortable. To whom do you matter? If you've never participated in a healing circle, I'd invite you to go look for a healing circle. Maybe you want to do that. I started doing them with my students. And it's been like super amazing to just give them space to be able to share without like people, commenting, just to like say what they need to say. The Institute for Anti-Racist Education has a BIPOC healing circle once a month that I've been to twice now, and it just feels really good. So I invite you to look at that. Um, a free write, I shared the free write slides with you, so please use that if it's helpful. With older kids, I think you could have them make up their own like loop, like what they want to say to themselves to affirm themselves, would be a cool thing. What else? And then the social justice standards, please hold on to those and make sure that you're putting them alongside everything that you're doing. This is identity work, y'all. This is what it's like. It can be fun, and it also can be empowering and help you feel ready to move forward and do more stuff, great stuff in the world. Okay, thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stay and chat as long as you need to. Otherwise, I love you all. Thank you so so much for being here. Bye. Love you. Have a good night. You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye. Yay. Oh, where's the exit slip? I thought I shared it, but I'll share it again.